They say you never really know someone until you see them at their worst. I used to think that was just something people said to sound profound, the kind of fortune cookie wisdom that gets thrown around at dinner parties or typed into social media posts. But now I understand it with a clarity that cuts like broken glass. The person you wake up next to for years, the one whose morning breath you've learned to tolerate, whose quirks you've memorized like a favorite song, that person can become a complete stranger in the span of a single afternoon. My name is Tyler Brennan, and I'm a civil engineer. I design bridges, calculate load-bearing capacities, ensure that structures can withstand pressure from every conceivable angle. The irony isn't lost on me that while I spent my career making sure things didn't collapse under stress, I completely missed the structural failures in my own marriage. I was 38 when my world imploded, married for 11 years to a woman I thought I knew inside and out. We had two kids, Emma, 9, and Lucas, 6, a four-bedroom colonial in Naperville, Illinois, and what I genuinely believed was a solid partnership. I wasn't naive. I knew marriages took work. I'd seen friends go through rough patches, heard the statistics about infidelity, watched enough drama unfold in my social circle to understand that happily ever after was more aspiration than guarantee. But I also thought we were different. We communicated. We went to date nights. We talked about our feelings, for crying out loud. I thought we'd built something that could weather any storm. The thing about betrayal is that it doesn't announce itself with trumpets and warning signs. It creeps in quietly, disguised as late nights at work, new passwords on phones, and a sudden interest in gym memberships. It hides behind reasonable explanations and plausible deniability until the day you stumble across something that makes all those little inconsistencies suddenly snap into focus like a photograph developing in a darkroom. For me, that moment came on a Tuesday in October. The leaves were just starting to turn. That brief window when suburban Chicago looks like something out of a postcard. I'd left work early because a client meeting got canceled, thinking I'd surprise my wife with takeout from her favorite Thai place. I had no dramatic premonition, no gut feeling that something was wrong. I was just a guy trying to do something nice for his spouse, maybe earn some points that would lead to a pleasant evening together after the kids went to bed. What I found instead was evidence of a double life so elaborate, so carefully constructed, that it made me question every moment of the past 2 years. And the worst part? Once I started pulling that thread, the entire fabric of my marriage unraveled with terrifying speed. This is the story of how everything fell apart, and what I did about it. The first crack appeared 3 months before everything exploded. It was July, the kind of muggy Midwest summer where the air feels thick enough to swim through. My wife, Amber, had started a new position at a marketing firm downtown, a big step up from her previous job at a smaller agency. The promotion came with longer hours, more responsibility, and what seemed like an endless string of after-work events and client dinners. "It's just part of the culture," she explained one evening, when I asked why she'd been home past 9 o'clock 4 times that week. "Everyone stays late. If I leave at 5, it looks like I'm not committed." I got it. Or at least, I thought I did. I'd been there myself early in my career, putting in the extra hours to prove myself. So I picked up the slack at home, handled more of the bedtime routines, meal prep, and homework supervision. Emma was going through a phase where she needed help with every math assignment, and Lucas had just started soccer, which meant twice-weekly practices and weekend games. "You're such a great dad," Amber would say, kissing my cheek before rushing out the door in the morning. Her perfume. Something new, I noticed, lingering after she left. The second crack came in August. I'd planned a weekend getaway for our anniversary, 11 years, which felt like an accomplishment worth celebrating. I'd booked a bed and breakfast in Galena, arranged for Amber's mother to watch the kids, even made reservations at that expensive French restaurant she'd been wanting to try. "Babe, I'm so sorry," she said, her face the picture of disappointment when I told her about the plans. "There's this huge pitch happening that Monday, and the team is doing a weekend retreat to prepare. I literally can't miss it." The thing about discovering your wife's affair is that the world doesn't stop turning. You still need to breathe. Your heart still beats. The refrigerator still hums in the kitchen, indifferent to the fact that your entire reality just collapsed. I stood in our bedroom, though that possessive suddenly felt like a lie, staring at the evidence spread across our king-sized bed. The bed we'd picked out together at that furniture warehouse in Schaumburg 6 years ago, arguing good-naturedly about firmness levels and thread counts. Amber's laptop sat open, the screen still glowing. I'd found it on her nightstand, left carelessly unlocked. Or maybe not carelessly. Maybe some part of her wanted to be discovered. People say that sometimes, don't they? That cheaters unconsciously sabotage themselves because the burden of deception becomes too heavy. The messages went back 18 months. 18 months. Not the 3 or 4 I'd been calculating since July when things shifted. This had started long before her new job, before the late nights and canceled anniversary. The job was just convenient cover for something already in motion. His name was Derek Paulson, 42, divorced. A client of her previous employer, which is apparently where they'd met. The early messages were professional enough, discussions about marketing strategies, brand positioning. Then came the lunch meetings, coffee breaks. The language shifted gradually, like watching a bridge slowly separate from its moorings. Professional courtesy became friendly, banter became flirtation, became something else entirely. By last November, our 10th anniversary month for crying out loud, they were sleeping together. The photographs were date-stamped. Hotel rooms I didn't recognize. A cabin somewhere wooded, probably up in Wisconsin or Michigan. Amber wearing lingerie I'd never seen, smiling at the camera with an expression I thought I knew but realized I didn't. Not really. This wasn't the woman who rolled her eyes at my dad jokes or fell asleep during action movies. This was someone else. Someone who existed in spaces I'd never occupied. The work retreat that canceled our anniversary trip? Real enough. Except she'd extended it by 3 days, telling me the pitch meeting got moved. She'd spent those extra days at the Langham in Chicago with Derek. The hotel was less than an hour from our house. I sat down on the edge of the bed, careful not to disturb the laptop. My hands were shaking. I clasped them together, focusing on the pressure of palm against palm, trying to anchor myself to something physical and real. The worst messages were the ones where they discussed me. "He's sweet," Amber had written in March. "But he's so predictable. I know exactly what he's going to say before he says it, what he's going to order at restaurants, how he'll react to everything." Derek's response: "Sounds boring as hell." "It is," she'd replied. "God, it really is." I thought about all the times I'd prided myself on being steady, reliable, the kind of husband who remembered to pick up milk without being asked, who knew Emma's math homework schedule and Lucas's soccer practice times. The kind of man who showed up. Apparently, showing up wasn't enough. There were discussions about leaving me. Derek was pushing for it. He wanted her to file for divorce, move in with him. He had a condo in Lincoln Park with plenty of space for her and the kids. The casual way he referenced my children made my stomach turn. But Amber kept hedging. "The timing isn't right. Tyler's mom just had surgery. Emma's struggling in school. I can't disrupt everything right now." Excuses, delays. She was keeping her options open, maintaining both lives simultaneously. The devoted suburban mother and wife by day, Derek's lover whenever she could slip away. The new job downtown made it easier, more plausible reasons to be gone, to work late, to attend networking events and conferences. The anniversary weekend she'd canceled? They'd gone to Galena together instead, the same destination she and I had planned. She'd actually taken my idea, my research about the bed and breakfast with the good reviews, and used it with him. I stood up abruptly, needing to move. The bedroom felt too small, the walls pressing in. I walked to the window overlooking our backyard. The swing set I'd installed last spring stood empty, swaying slightly in the October breeze. Lucas's soccer ball sat abandoned near the fence. My phone buzzed. A text from Amber. "Running late, meeting went long. Can you handle dinner? Sorry." The casual dishonesty of it. The ease with which she lied. How many of those late meetings were real? How many were Derek? I looked at the timestamp on her laptop. She'd been logged into the messaging app as recently as this afternoon, during what she'd told me was a crucial presentation. A presentation that apparently included enough downtime to send Derek 3 messages about meeting up this weekend while I took the kids to my brother's house. That had been my suggestion. I'd offered to give her a quiet weekend to rest, to catch up on sleep. She'd accepted gratefully, kissing my cheek and calling me the best husband. The best husband. The predictable, boring, sweet husband who didn't suspect a thing. I pulled out my phone and opened the camera app. Then, methodically, I began documenting everything. Every message, every photograph, every hotel receipt she'd saved in a folder labeled work expenses that I'd found buried in her documents. I photographed the credit card statements I'd pulled up using our joint account login, charges at restaurants I'd never been to, purchases from Victoria's Secret and Sephora that never made it home to our closet. The engineer in me took over. This was just another project requiring proper documentation. Gather the data. Analyze the structural failures. Determine the extent of the damage. I'd been at it for maybe 20 minutes when I heard the garage door opener. My heart lurched. I checked the time, 6:47 p.m. She was earlier than expected. I closed out the browser windows, shut the laptop, and shoved it back onto her nightstand exactly as I'd found it. The printed screenshots I'd already made went into my briefcase. My hands moved with surprising steadiness, given that my pulse was hammering in my ears. By the time her footsteps sounded on the stairs, I was in our bathroom, running water in the sink as if I'd been washing my hands. "Tyler?" Her voice carried down the hallway. "You home?" I looked at myself in the mirror. Same face I'd had this morning. Same guy who'd kissed his wife goodbye and told her to have a good day. But something in my eyes had changed. Some fundamental shift had occurred. "Yeah," I called back. "Just got in." I dried my hands and stepped out of the bathroom. Amber stood in the bedroom doorway, still in her work clothes, a navy dress I'd complimented her on this morning, heels that made her legs look long. She looked tired but smiled when she saw me. "Hey," she said. "Sorry about dinner. The meeting really did run over." The lie came so easily to her, so naturally. "No problem," I heard myself say. "I was thinking we could just order pizza. Let the kids pick the toppings." "Perfect." She kicked off her heels with a sigh of relief. "I'm exhausted. Where are Emma and Lucas?" "Still at the Johnsons'. Katie's mom said she'd drop them off around 7:30. "Great. That gives me time to change." She moved toward the closet, then paused. "You okay? You seem, I don't know, off." I forced a smile. "Long day, foundation issues on the Riverside project." "Ah." She nodded sympathetically, already losing interest. Work talk had always been our safe zone, boring enough to be believable, detailed enough to discourage follow-up questions. "Well, hopefully pizza and mindless TV will help." She disappeared into the closet. I heard the rustle of fabric, the clink of hangers. My phone buzzed silently in my pocket. Probably Katie's mom confirming drop-off time. I didn't check it. I just stood there, watching my wife move around our bedroom with easy familiarity, humming something under her breath. 18 months of lies. 18 months of hotel rooms and secret messages, and a whole separate life I knew nothing about. And now I had a choice to make. The pizza arrives 23 minutes later. I know because I watch every minute tick by on the microwave clock while Amber scrolls through her phone at the kitchen table, occasionally laughing at something on the screen. Each quiet chuckle feels like sandpaper against my nerves. I pay the delivery guy, tip him well, muscle memory, the same routine I've performed 100 times before, and bring the box to the table. Lucas materializes immediately, drawn by the smell of pepperoni. Emma follows, already complaining that she wanted mushrooms instead. "You always want pepperoni," I say, keeping my voice level. "That was last week, Dad." 9 years old and already mastering the art of making me feel like I can't keep up. I glance at Amber, wondering if she'll back me up, but she's still absorbed in her phone. "Who are you texting?" The question comes out before I can stop it. She looks up, and for just a fraction of a second something flickers across her face. Guilt? Annoyance? Then it's gone, replaced by that easy smile I used to find reassuring. "Just Jenna from work. She's freaking out about the presentation tomorrow. Amber sets the phone face down on the table. Sorry, I should put this away. Family dinner, right? Family dinner. Like we're some Norman Rockwell painting instead of a carefully constructed lie. I serve the pizza, making sure Lucas gets the pieces with the most pepperoni, cutting Emma's into smaller bites even though she insists she's old enough to handle it herself. The normalcy of it all feels surreal. 3 hours ago, I was reading messages about my wife's affair. Now I'm debating pizza toppings and pouring milk into plastic cups with cartoon characters on them. How was your day? Amber asks, taking a bite of her slice. The question is so mundane, so perfectly routine, that I almost laugh. How was my day? Well, I discovered my marriage is a sham, documented evidence of your infidelity, and now I'm sitting here pretending everything's fine while planning my next move. Same as always, I say instead. Reviewed some structural assessments for the Monroe Project. Boring stuff. Not boring, she says automatically, the response she's given 1,000 times before. Important. I wonder if Derek finds her work boring. I wonder if she tells him the same reassuring lies she tells me, or if she saves her honesty for him. The thought tastes bitter. Emma launches into a story about her friend Madison's birthday party next weekend. Something about a trampoline park and whether she can go. I nod in the right places, make appropriate sounds of interest, but my mind is elsewhere. I'm thinking about the flash drive hidden in my sock drawer, about the folder of screenshots saved to the cloud, about the credit card statements I'll need to access. I'm thinking about the fact that I need a lawyer. The realization settles over me like a weight. This isn't something I can fix with better communication or couples counseling. This isn't a rough patch or a misunderstanding. 18 months of deliberate deception, of calculated lies, of choosing someone else while keeping me as the safety net. That's not something you come back from. Tyler? Amber's voice cuts through my thoughts. You okay? You seem distracted. Just tired, I say, meeting her eyes. She looks concerned, caring even. I wonder how she does it, how she compartmentalizes so effectively that she can look at me with apparent affection while planning her exit strategy with another man. You should go to bed early, she says. I can handle bedtime with the kids. Of course she can. She'll tuck them in, kiss them goodnight, maybe read them a story. Then she'll probably text Derek, tell him about her day, maybe send him one of those photos I saw earlier. The thought makes my stomach turn. Maybe, I say noncommittally. After dinner, I do go upstairs, but not to sleep. I sit at my desk in the small office we converted from a spare bedroom and open my laptop. I need to be smart about this. Methodical. I built a career on careful analysis and planning. I can apply the same principles here. I start with divorce attorneys. Illinois is a no-fault divorce state, which means Amber's affair won't technically matter in the dissolution of the marriage itself. But it might matter for other things. Custody arrangements, asset division, maintenance payments. I think about Amber's salary. She makes good money now, almost as much as I do. That's new, a result of the promotion she got 6 months ago. The promotion that gave her so much more freedom, so many more excuses to be away. The irony isn't lost on me. I was proud of her when she got that job. I bragged about it to my colleagues, told them how my wife was climbing the corporate ladder. I picked up the slack at home without complaint because I believed we were partners, that her success was our success. Turns out I was just making it easier for her to betray me. I find 3 attorneys who specialize in family law, all with good reviews and experience handling complex asset divisions. I draft emails to each of them, requesting consultations. My finger hovers over the send button. This is it. Once I reach out to a lawyer, once I start that process, there's no going back. This becomes real in a way it isn't quite yet. Right now, it's still contained. A terrible secret I'm holding. A private devastation. The moment I involve attorneys, it becomes official. The machinery of divorce starts turning. I send the emails. Downstairs, I hear Amber's voice, patient and gentle, reading Lucas a bedtime story. Something about a bear and a moon. She's a good mother. I can't deny that. Whatever else she's done, whatever lies she's told me, she loves our kids. That's going to make this so much harder. I close the laptop and lean back in my chair, staring at the ceiling. The house settles around me, all those familiar creaks and groans I've memorized over the years. We bought this place when Emma was 2, back when Amber was pregnant with Lucas. I remember walking through it with the realtor, imagining our life here. Birthday parties in the backyard, Christmas mornings in the living room, growing old together in the master bedroom. All of it based on a foundation that was already starting to crack, apparently. Because if the affair started 18 months ago, that means it began right around the time we were planning Lucas's 5th birthday party. While I was researching bounce house rentals, Amber was starting something with Derek Paulson. My phone buzzes. A text from my brother asking if I want to catch a game this weekend. I stare at it, wondering what I'd even say if I told him the truth. My brother lives in Arizona, has his own life, his own problems. We're close enough, but not the kind of close where I can call him at 10 p.m. and unload this kind of devastation. I realize with a sharp clarity that I don't have anyone to talk to about this. Not yet. Not until I figure out what I'm doing, what my plan is. The thought is isolating in a way I didn't expect. Amber appears in the doorway, startling me. "Kids are down," she says. "Lucas wanted you to say goodnight, but I told him you were working." "Thanks," I manage. She lingers, leaning against the doorframe. She's changed into yoga pants and an old college sweatshirt, her hair pulled back in a ponytail. This is the Amber I've seen 1,000 times before, comfortable and familiar. Except now I know that this version of her, the casual domestic one, is just another performance. "You sure you're okay?" she asks. "You've been weird since you got home." The audacity of it almost makes me laugh. She's been conducting an affair for a year and a half, and she's asking if I'm okay, because I seem a little off after one evening. "Just work stress," I lie, adding another deception to the pile we're apparently building together. "The Monroe project has some complications." She nods, accepting this easily. "Well, don't stay up too late. You need sleep." "I won't." She pushes off from the doorframe, then pauses. "Hey, Tyler?" "Yeah?" "I love you." The words hang in the air between us. I wonder if she means them, in whatever compartmentalized way she's capable of meaning them. I wonder if she tells Derek the same thing, or if she saves different words for him. "Love you too," I say, because what else can I say? The truth, that I don't even know who she is anymore, would shatter the careful facade we're both maintaining. She smiles and disappears down the hallway. A moment later, I hear the bedroom door close. I sit in the silence of my office, listening to my house settle around me, and wait for the attorneys to respond. I spend the rest of the week playing the part. It's easier than I expected, which tells me something about our marriage I'm not ready to examine too closely. Amber barely notices the difference, maybe because there isn't much of one. I've been going through the motions for longer than I realized. Wednesday morning, I meet with the second attorney on my list. Patricia Nguyen practices out of a renovated Victorian in downtown Wheaton, and her rates are 20% higher than the first lawyer I consulted. Her paralegal offers me coffee in a waiting room decorated with abstract art that probably costs more than my car. Mr. Brennan. Patricia is 50-something, with silver hair cut in a precise bob and reading glasses on a chain. She doesn't waste time on pleasantries. "I've reviewed the materials you sent over. Walk me through how you obtained these communications." I explain about the unlocked laptop, the open browser, making sure to emphasize that I didn't hack anything or use spyware. Patricia makes notes on a yellow legal pad. "Illinois is a no-fault state," she says. "The affair itself won't impact the divorce decree significantly. Where it matters is custody and asset division. Her deception, the time spent away from the children while conducting this relationship, that builds a pattern we can use. I want primary custody of Emma and Lucas. Given that you've been the more present parent, especially recently, that's achievable. But I need you to understand. Illinois courts favor shared custody arrangements. We can argue for majority time, but unless we can prove she's an unfit mother, you're looking at something like 60-40, maybe 70-30. It's not what I want to hear, but it's realistic." Patricia spends another 40 minutes outlining strategy, timelines, costs. By the time I leave, my head is swimming with terms like temporary orders and discovery process and guardian ad litem. I drive to the office but can't focus on the structural analysis waiting on my computer. Instead, I pull up the cloud folder where I've backed up everything. There are new messages from last night. Derek, when are you going to tell him? Amber, soon. I just need the right moment. Derek, you've been saying that for months. Amber, I know, I'm sorry. It's complicated with the kids. Derek, it's not that complicated. You're unhappy, he's clueless. You tell him it's over and we move forward. Amber, can we not do this right now? I'm at work. Derek, fine, but we're talking about this Saturday. No more delays. Saturday, 3 days from now. I screenshot everything and add it to my evidence folder, which has grown to over 200 files. Photos, messages, hotel receipts, credit card statements showing charges at restaurants I've never been to, florists I've never used. The florists are what get me. Derek sends her flowers every couple of weeks. She must have them delivered to her office because I've never seen them at home. Another whole relationship I knew nothing about. My phone buzzes. A text from Amber. Running late tonight. Client dinner. Don't wait up. I check the calendar on her laptop remotely. I set up access yesterday using credentials saved in her browser. No client dinner listed. But Derek's calendar shows a dinner 7 p.m. No problem, I text back. I'll handle bedtime. I leave work at 4 and pick up Lucas from after-school care, then Emma from her friend's house. We stop at the grocery store because I've been doing more cooking lately. Another thing Amber hasn't noticed. Lucas wants dinosaur-shaped chicken nuggets. Emma lobbies for pizza rolls. We compromise on both. At home, I help Emma with her math homework while Lucas builds an elaborate Lego city on the living room floor. This is my life. This has always been my life. Amber's been a guest star for the past 18 months, making cameo appearances between her real story. Dad? Emma looks up from her worksheet. Is Mom going to miss my recital next week? The recital. I'd forgotten about it. What day is it? Thursday, at 7, remember? I gave you guys the paper like a month ago. I pull up the family calendar on my phone. There's nothing listed for next Thursday. I check Amber's work calendar remotely. She's blocked off the entire evening. Strategy session, Chicago office. She might have to work late, I say carefully. But I'll be there. She's always working late now. Emma returns to her fractions, her voice flat. Megan's mom comes to everything. The casual hurt in her voice cuts deeper than anything in those messages. This is what Amber's doing to them, to us. I make dinner, supervise showers, read Lucas his bedtime story about a dragon who learns to share. Emma reads her own chapter book but wants me to sit with her anyway. I do, scrolling through my phone while she reads, checking Amber's location. She's at a steakhouse downtown, the expensive one with the wine list that requires a sommelier to navigate. By 9:30, both kids are asleep. I pour myself a bourbon, Amber's expensive stuff, the bottle she got me for my birthday that I've barely touched, and sit in the dark living room. The house is quiet. Our house. The 4-bedroom colonial we bought 7 years ago, when Emma was 2 and Amber was pregnant with Lucas. We'd walked through it on a Sunday afternoon in March, and Amber had loved the kitchen, the natural light, the backyard big enough for a swing set. I'd checked the foundation, the roof, the electrical panel. We'd made an offer that night. I remember thinking we were building something. A life, a family, a future. Turns out I was building it alone. My phone buzzes. Amber. Just leaving. Be home in 45. I don't respond. Instead, I open my laptop and continue what I started yesterday, documenting everything. I've created a spreadsheet tracking every late night, every work event, every canceled plan over the past 18 months. The pattern is damning. She's missed 12 of Lucas's soccer games, 7 parent-teacher conferences, Emma's spring concert, my company picnic, my father's birthday dinner. But she made time for Derek. Dozens of lunch dates, evening drinks, weekend getaways disguised as work trips or girls' weekends. I cross-reference her explanations against the messages, against Derek's calendar, against credit card statements. The web of lies is intricate, carefully maintained. I hear her car in the driveway at 10:40. The garage door opens, closes. She comes in through the kitchen, and I listen to her routine. Purse on the counter, shoes off, keys in the bowl. She appears in the living room doorway, backlit by the kitchen light. "You're still up?" She sounds surprised. "Couldn't sleep?" I gesture with my bourbon glass. "How was dinner?" "Long, exhausting." She moves to the couch, sits at the other end. There's a careful distance between us that's become normal. The client wants to completely restructure their digital strategy. It's going to be a nightmare. She's good at this. The weary details, the frustrated sigh. If I didn't know better, I'd believe her completely. "Emma asked about her recital," I say. "Next Thursday." Amber's face does something complicated. "I have that strategy session." I know, she's disappointed. "I can't help it, Tyler. This is my job." "I know," I say again. "I told her I'd be there." She looks at me, and for a moment, I think she might say something real. Might acknowledge what she's sacrificing, what she's choosing. But the moment passes. "Thank you for picking up the slack," she says. I know it's been a lot lately. Picking up the slack. As if her affair is just extra work hours, an unavoidable career demand. "It's fine," I hear myself say. "They're my kids too." She nods, already pulling out her phone, scrolling through messages I'll read later in her cloud backup. "I'm going to head up. Early meeting tomorrow." "Good night." She pauses at the stairs. "Tyler, are we okay?" The question catches me off guard. I look at her, really look at her, and try to find the woman I married. She's in there somewhere, under the lies and the betrayal and the careful performance. But I don't know if I want to find her anymore. "We're fine," I say. "Just tired." She accepts this because she wants to, because it's easier than the truth. After she goes upstairs, I sit in the dark for another hour, finishing my bourbon and planning my next move. Saturday, Derek wants answers. Saturday, Amber will have to make a choice. But I'm not waiting until Saturday. Tomorrow, I'm meeting with the third attorney, and then I'm going to start making choices of my own. The meeting with the third attorney is scheduled for Thursday afternoon. I tell Amber I have a site inspection in the western suburbs that'll run late. She barely looks up from her phone when I mention it. These days, my comings and goings register about as much as background noise. I've been thinking about Derek's Saturday deadline. The way he wrote it, "Make a choice or I will," carries an unmistakable threat. He's tired of waiting, tired of being the secret. And if Amber won't leave me voluntarily, he's prepared to force the issue somehow. The question is, how? I spend Tuesday night after everyone's asleep going through Derek's social media again, this time with a different lens. I'm not looking for evidence of the affair anymore. I have plenty of that. I'm looking for his character, his patterns. What kind of man am I actually dealing with? His Facebook is carefully curated. Lots of photos from charity events. He's on the board of some youth athletics nonprofit. Pictures of him at Blackhawks games, Navy Pier, the Art Institute. He projects success and civic engagement. There's a photo from 2 years ago at what looks like a company retreat, his arm around a woman I don't recognize. The comments reference his divorce, people offering sympathy. I find her eventually, Christine Paulson, now Christine Reeves. Her Facebook is more open. There's a post from 18 months ago, right around when Derek and Amber's affair started. Finally free from a narcissist. If someone shows you who they are, believe them the first time. The comments underneath are illuminating. Friends congratulating her on her escape. References to finally seeing the real Derek. One comment mentions what he put you through. I screenshot everything. On LinkedIn, Derek's profile is impressive. VP of Sales at a medical device company. Before that, regional manager at a pharmaceutical firm. Graduated from University of Illinois. His recommendations are glowing, but they're all professional. Nothing personal. No one calling him a great guy or talking about his character. I create a burner email account and send a brief message to Christine Reeves through Facebook Messenger. I'm sorry to contact you out of the blue. I'm trying to get accurate information about Derek Paulson for legal purposes. Would you be willing to speak with me briefly? I understand if not. I don't expect a response. But Wednesday morning, there's a reply. Call me. She includes a phone number. I wait until Wednesday afternoon during my lunch break. I drive to a forest preserve parking lot and sit in my truck with the windows down, listening to the October wind move through the trees. Christine answers on the second ring. Her voice is cautious. This is about Derek? Yes, I appreciate you being willing to talk. I know this is unusual. Are you a lawyer? No, I pause, trying to figure out how much to reveal. Someone who needs to understand who he really is. There's a long silence. Then, he's sleeping with your wife. It shouldn't shock me that she figured it out so quickly, but it does. How did you? Because that's what he does. That's what he did to me. Her voice is flat, matter of fact. We were married 6 years. The last 2, he had at least 3 affairs that I know about. Probably more. I close my eyes. I'm sorry. Don't be sorry for me. Be smart for yourself. She takes a breath. Derek he's very good at making you feel special. Like you're the only person who really understands him. He's charming and generous, and he'll make you feel like the center of his world. Right up until you're not useful anymore. What happened when you found out? About the affairs? I confronted him. He cried. Promised it would never happen again. Said he'd go to therapy, that I was the love of his life, all of it. A bitter laugh. I believed him. For about 4 months, until I found hotel receipts again. Did you divorce him then? Not immediately. He convinced me to try counseling. We went to 3 sessions before the therapist pulled me aside and told me she thought Derek had narcissistic personality disorder. She couldn't diagnose him without treating him directly, but she'd seen enough to recommend I protect myself legally. The wind picks up, scattering leaves across the parking lot. Did he ever get threatening when you finally filed? Oh, you mean, did he try to intimidate me into staying? Her voice sharpens. Yeah. He told me if I left him, he'd make sure I got nothing in the divorce. He had lawyers, connections, money. He said he'd drag it out until I was broke, that I'd regret embarrassing him publicly. What did you do? I documented everything. Every affair, every threatening text, every penny he'd spent on his girlfriends. And I got a lawyer who wasn't afraid of him. She pauses. In the end, he folded. His company didn't want the publicity, and I had enough evidence to make things very uncomfortable for him. We settled. I got what I deserved. Is he paying alimony? For 3 more years. Which he reminds me about every time he's legally required to contact me. She sighs. Look, I don't know your situation, but if Derek's involved with your wife, you need to know. He's not going to just fade away quietly. He's possessive. He wants to win, and he doesn't care who gets hurt in the process. I think about the Saturday deadline. If he were going to force someone's hand, how would he do it? Depends. When I wouldn't leave fast enough, he threatened to tell my family about problems in our marriage. His version of events, of course. He sent flowers to my office with cards that seemed romantic, but were actually referencing private fights. Made me look unstable. Her voice drops. He's good at manipulation, at making you question yourself, at controlling the narrative. Would he tell the spouse? Just to blow everything up? Maybe, if he thought it would work in his favor. She's quiet for a moment. Is your wife still with you? Still pretending everything's normal? Yeah. Then he probably won't tell you directly. He'll want her to do it, so she comes to him. So he gets to be the hero who saved her from her terrible marriage. The bitterness in her voice is sharp enough to cut. That's his pattern. He needs to be the good guy in his own story. We talk for a few more minutes. She gives me the name of her divorce attorney, someone who practices in Illinois and knows Derek's tactics. Before we hang up, she says, "Whatever you're planning, do it soon." Derek doesn't like waiting, and he gets mean when he doesn't get his way. I sit in the truck for a long time after the call ends, watching the leaves spiral down from the trees. Everything Christine described matches what I've seen in the messages. The charm, the possessiveness, the need to control the narrative. And now I understand what Saturday's deadline really means. If Amber doesn't tell me she's leaving by then, Derek will force the issue himself. Maybe by showing up at our house. Maybe by sending me proof of the affair. Maybe by creating some crisis that requires Amber to choose. Whatever he's planning, it's meant to take control away from both of us. But he's made one critical miscalculation. He thinks I don't know. He thinks I'm the oblivious husband, going about my predictable, boring life while my wife plans her exit. He has no idea I've been 3 steps ahead for days now. The question is whether I let his Saturday deadline play out or whether I move first. I start the truck and head back toward the office. I have 48 hours until my Thursday attorney meeting and 72 until Derek's deadline. Time enough to decide what kind of man I want to be when this all comes apart. The kind who waits to be blindsided, or the kind who sees the structural failure coming and reinforces the foundation before everything collapses. I already know which one I am. I've always been the engineer who identifies the cracks before they spread. The rest of Wednesday passes in a strange fog. I go through the motions, conference calls, structural reviews, a budget meeting that drags on for 90 minutes. My boss compliments me on the Henderson Street project. I nod, say thanks, and can't remember a single detail about it 5 minutes later. The irony is that I've spent my entire career building things meant to last. Bridges designed to carry loads for 50 years. Foundations engineered to withstand earthquakes. Everything calculated, stress-tested, verified. I've built structures across 3 states that will outlive me by generations. But I couldn't keep my own marriage from collapsing. I leave the office at 5:30, stop at the grocery store, pick up ingredients for tacos. Emma loves taco night. Lucas will eat exactly 3 and arrange the shells in a pattern on his plate before touching them. These are the details I know, the small certainties that still hold. When I walk in at 6:15, Amber is already home. She's at the kitchen island with her laptop, still in her work clothes, charcoal slacks and a cream blouse that probably cost more than my entire week's wardrobe. "Hey," she says, glancing up. "Tacos? Thought the kids would like it." They're upstairs. Lucas is building something with his Legos. Emma's supposed to be doing homework, but I heard music, so... She shrugs, returns her attention to the screen. I set the groceries down, start unpacking. Ground beef, lettuce, tomatoes, the sharp cheddar Emma insists on even though Lucas won't touch it. "How was your day?" I ask, because that's what I'm supposed to do. That's what normal husbands ask their normal wives on normal Wednesday evenings. "Busy." She types something, frowns at the screen. The Riverside campaign is eating up all my bandwidth. Trevor wants the presentation deck by Friday morning, which means I'll probably need to work late tomorrow. Thursday. Emma's recital is Thursday at 7. What time? I keep my voice neutral, focused on unwrapping the ground beef. Not sure yet. Depends on how the afternoon goes. Why? Emma's recital is at 7. Amber's fingers pause on the keyboard, just for a second. Right, the recital. I have it on my calendar. Do you? She looks up at that and something flickers across her face. Annoyance, maybe. Or guilt, wearing an annoyance mask. Yes, Tyler. I have my daughter's recital on my calendar. I'll make it work. Like you made Lucas's game work last Saturday? The words are out before I can stop them. Not confrontational exactly, but edged. Sharp enough to draw blood if she's paying attention. Amber closes her laptop slowly. I had a work thing. I explained that. A strategy session. Yes. On a Saturday morning. We're launching a major campaign. These things don't run on a 9-to-5 schedule. Her voice has taken on that patient, explaining to a child quality I've been hearing more often lately. I know it's frustrating, but this is what the promotion means. More responsibility. More demands on my time. I turn to face her, leaning against the counter. And Thursday? Another strategy session? I don't know yet. Probably just working late at the office to finish the deck. At the office. Yes, Tyler. At the office. Where I work. Is there a problem? There are so many problems I don't know where to start. But I can't start anywhere, can I? Not yet. Not until I know what Derek's planning. Not until I understand the full scope of what I'm dealing with. No problem, I say. Just want to make sure Emma knows if you'll be there or not. She's been practicing that piece for 6 weeks. Amber's jaw tightens. I said I'll make it work. Okay. Okay. We stare at each other for a moment, and I wonder if she can see it. The knowledge behind my eyes, the weight of everything I'm carrying. But she just picks up her laptop, tucks it under her arm. I'm going to change. Let me know when dinner's ready. She walks past me, close enough that I catch her perfume. Not the one she wore for a decade. The new one. The one she started wearing when Derek Paulson entered her life. After she's gone, I stand there holding a package of ground beef, listening to her footsteps on the stairs. Then I hear our bedroom door close, and I know exactly what she's doing. Checking her phone. Reading messages I'll see later tonight, when she's asleep and I'm downstairs with her laptop. This is my life now. This double existence where I cook tacos and ask about her day while knowing she spent her lunch hour texting her lover. Where I pretend to believe her lies while documenting everyone. I brown the beef, dice the vegetables, set out the toppings in small bowls. Emma appears first, drawn by the smell, her hair still damp from a shower. Dad, you made tacos. Your favorite. Can I have 4? You can have as many as you want, kiddo. Lucas comes down next, studies the setup with serious 9-year-old concentration. Are these the crunchy shells or the soft ones? Crunchy, but I got soft ones too if you want. Crunchy is fine, but they have to be the right temperature. I'll make sure they're perfect. Amber joins us a few minutes later, changed into yoga pants and an oversized sweater. She's pulled her hair into a ponytail, washed off her makeup. She looks younger like this, more like the woman I married. We eat together at the kitchen table. Emma talks about her friend Olivia's birthday party next month. Lucas explains his Lego creation in exhaustive detail. It's a spaceship with special wings that fold. Amber asks questions, laughs at the right moments, helps Lucas when he spills salsa on his shirt. We look like a family. We sound like a family. We're a photograph of a family, and the image is already fading. After dinner, Amber helps with homework while I clean up. I can hear her in the living room with Emma, working through long division. She's patient, breaking down each step, praising Emma when she gets it right. She's a good mother. That's the thing that makes this all so much harder. She's not a villain. She's just a person who made choices, who wanted something else, who decided her own happiness mattered more than the promises she made. I'm loading the dishwasher when my phone buzzes. Text from an unknown number. This is Christine. Been thinking about our conversation. If Derek's setting deadlines, he's already got something planned. He did the same thing to me before he left. Created a crisis that forced my hand. Watch out for him showing up somewhere unexpected. He likes grand gestures, makes him feel like he's in a movie. I read it twice, then delete it. Add Christine's number to my contacts under C. Reeves Engineer in case Amber ever sees it. Grand gestures. Showing up somewhere unexpected. Emma's recital is tomorrow night at 7. Amber's supposed to be working late but claims she'll make it. Derek knows about the recital. I found it mentioned in their messages from 2 weeks ago, when Amber complained about having to miss quality time with him for a school thing. Would he show up there? Force the issue by appearing at our daughter's school, making Amber choose between her family and him in the most public way possible? My hands have stopped moving. I'm standing at the sink, plate in hand, staring at nothing. Tyler, I turn. Amber's in the doorway, watching me with a puzzled expression. You okay? You kind of zoned out there. Fine, just tired. You've been working too hard. She crosses to me, puts a hand on my shoulder. The touch feels foreign now, like a stranger's hand. Maybe we should plan something for this weekend. Family time. We could take the kids to that pumpkin patch they've been asking about. This weekend, 2 days after Derek's Saturday deadline. Sure, I say. That sounds good. She smiles, squeezes my shoulder, then heads back to the living room. I finish loading the dishwasher, wipe down the counters, and try to figure out what Derek Paulson is planning for my family. The phone call with Christine Paulson left me sitting in my car for another 10 minutes, watching the steady stream of commuters flow into the office building. The morning sun glinted off windshields and glass facades, everything bright and normal and utterly disconnected from the darkness I'd just been warned about. Grand gestures, showing up unexpectedly, forcing the issue. I started the engine and pulled out of the parking lot, my mind already working through scenarios. Derek had given Amber until Saturday, 3 days from now, but Christine's warning suggested he might not wait that long. Men like him didn't issue ultimatums and then sit patiently while the clock ran down. They created pressure, manufactured crises, pushed until something broke. The question was where and when he'd make his move. I merged onto I-88, heading back toward Naperville. Traffic was light now, the morning rush mostly over. My phone sat in the cup holder, Christine's number still on the screen. She'd given me more than just insight into Derek's character. She'd given me a timeline and a warning. The recital tomorrow night. Saturday's deadline. 2 potential flashpoints. The smart money said he'd choose the recital. Maximum impact, maximum witnesses, Amber forced to choose between her family and her lover, in front of teachers, other parents, our daughter. It was exactly the kind of manipulative power play Christine had described. Public enough to prevent Amber from deflecting or delaying, but framed as romantic, the devoted boyfriend who couldn't wait any longer to claim his love. I felt my hands tighten on the steering wheel. The alternative was that he'd wait until Saturday, let the deadline arrive, and then do something even more dramatic. Show up at the house maybe, confront me directly, force Amber to make her choice with both of us standing there. Either way, I was running out of time to decide how to handle this. I could confront Amber tonight, lay out everything I knew, take control of the narrative before Derek had a chance to weaponize it. That had a certain appeal, denying him the satisfaction of orchestrating the reveal, protecting the kids from whatever scene he might create. But it also meant losing the advantage of knowing what was coming while they didn't. And more importantly, it meant I'd never see how Amber would actually handle Derek's pressure. Would she choose us? Would she choose him? Or would she try to keep playing both sides, buying time, maintaining her options? I needed to know. Not just for the divorce proceedings, though, that mattered, but for myself. After 18 months of lies, I needed to see what she'd do when forced into a corner. The exit for Naperville appeared ahead. I took it, winding through familiar streets toward home. It was just past 9:30 now. The house would be empty, Amber at work, kids at school. I had the whole day to prepare, to think, to plan, and to decide whether I was going to let Derek Paulson's deadline play out or whether I was going to blow up my marriage on my own terms. The house felt different when I walked in. Same furniture, same family photos on the walls, same faint scent of the vanilla candles Amber liked to burn. But knowing what I knew, seeing what I'd seen, it all felt like a stage set. Props arranged to suggest a happy family, with none of the substance underneath. I went straight to my office and pulled up the documentation I'd been building. 237 pieces of evidence now, all meticulously organized and backed up in 3 separate locations. Messages, photos, credit card statements, hotel receipts. A timeline stretching back 18 months, showing the evolution of the affair from tentative first steps to the current crisis point. I opened a new document and started typing out what Christine had told me. Derek's patterns, his history, his personality traits, the way he'd pressured his previous affair partners, the control tactics he used, the escalation when he didn't get his way. All of it potentially useful, either for the divorce proceedings or for understanding what was about to happen. When I finished, I sat back and stared at the screen. 3 days until Derek's deadline. 2 days until the recital. And I still had no idea what I was going to do. The analytical part of my brain, the engineer who solved problems through careful planning and methodical execution, wanted more data. I wanted to know Derek's exact plan, Amber's actual intentions, all the variables that would determine how this played out. But I wasn't going to get that. I was going to have to make a decision with incomplete information and live with the consequences. My phone buzzed. A text from Amber. Working through lunch today. Big presentation this afternoon. Should be home by 6, though. Can you grab Lucas from soccer practice? I stared at the message. Big presentation. Maybe it was even true. Her job did involve presentations, client meetings, legitimate work that required late hours and focused preparation. But after 18 months of lies, how was I supposed to know what was real and what was cover? I typed back, no problem. Good luck with the presentation. Her response came quickly. Thanks. Love you. 2 words that used to mean something. Now they were just noise, sounds she made to maintain the fiction we were living in. I set the phone down and turned back to my computer. The cursor blinked on the document where I'd been recording Christine's warnings. Grand gestures, public confrontations, manufactured crises. If Derek showed up at the recital tomorrow night, what would I do? Let him make his scene, expose the affair in front of everyone? Or intercept him somehow, prevent the confrontation, protect Emma from witnessing whatever drama he had planned? And if I intercepted him, what then? Confront him directly? Tell him I knew everything and he needed to back off? That seemed likely to accelerate things rather than diffuse them. Or maybe I could warn Amber. Tell her I knew about Derek's deadline, that he was planning something for the recital, that she needed to handle it before he made things worse. Give her a chance to end it on her own terms. Spare the kids the trauma of a public scene. But that assumed she'd choose to end it. And nothing in the messages I'd read suggested she was ready to do that. I rubbed my eyes, feeling the weight of too little sleep and too much stress. The smart play was probably to do nothing. Let Derek's deadline approach, see how Amber handled the pressure, document everything, and use it all in the divorce proceedings. The attorney I'd consulted had been clear. Evidence of the affair mattered, but evidence of how it affected the kids mattered more. If Derek created a scene at Emma's recital, if Amber chose her lover over her daughter's big moment, that would be powerful ammunition for custody arguments. But using my daughter's school event as a battlefield felt wrong in ways I couldn't quite articulate. Emma was already picking up on the tension, already noticing her mother's absences. Did I really want to add this to her memories of 4th grade? The cursor kept blinking. I closed the document without saving it and opened my email instead. Maybe work would provide some distraction, some sense of normalcy while I figured out what to do next. But the first email in my inbox was from Emma's school, a reminder about tomorrow night's recital. Doors open at 6:30, performance starts at 7, reception to follow in the cafeteria. I stared at it for a long moment, then looked at the calendar on my wall. Thursday, October 12th. Emma's recital. The first potential flashpoint. And then Saturday, October 14th. Derek's deadline, the second. 48 hours until I'd know whether I was going to control this situation or let it control me. I closed my laptop and stood up, suddenly needing to move, to do something other than sit and think in circles. The house was too quiet, too full of ghosts and memories that didn't mean what I'd thought they meant. I grabbed my keys and headed back out to the car. I didn't have a destination in mind, just a need to drive, to put distance between myself and the suffocating weight of decisions I wasn't ready to make. But as I backed out of the driveway, I knew the clock was ticking, and soon enough, ready or not, everything was going to come crashing down. I drive for 2 hours without any real destination. North on 335, then west on I-88, watching the suburbs thin out into farmland and back again. The radio stays off. My phone sits in the cup holder, face down, vibrating occasionally with texts I don't read. By the time I pull back into our driveway, it's past 11. The house is dark except for the porch light Amber always leaves on. Her car sits in the garage, which means she actually came home at a reasonable hour for once. Small mercies. I sit in the driver's seat for a few minutes, staring at the house I've been paying the mortgage on for 7 years. 4 bedrooms, 3.5 baths, updated kitchen with granite countertops. Everything we were supposed to want. Everything that was supposed to matter. The engineering part of my brain, the part that's kept me functional through all of this, starts calculating. Thursday night is Emma's recital. That's roughly 40 hours from now. Derek's deadline is Saturday, which gives me about 90 hours total before he decides to blow up my life on his own terms. 90 hours to decide whether I control this narrative or let him write it for me. I let myself in through the garage, moving quietly out of habit. The kitchen is clean. Amber must have actually done dishes for once instead of leaving them for me. There's a note on the counter in her handwriting. Leftovers in the fridge. Hope your meeting went well. A. The casual domesticity of it makes my stomach turn. She still thinks I'm the same oblivious husband who'll accept any excuse, believe any explanation. Part of me wants to crumple the note and leave it on the counter for her to find. Part of me wants to wake her up right now and watch her face as I lay out every single piece of evidence I've collected. Instead, I file the note in the folder I've been keeping in my car. Evidence of her continued deception. Everything matters now. I grab a beer from the fridge and head to my office, the converted bedroom at the back of the house where I supposedly do work from home. Really, it's where I've been building my case for the past week. The laptop with the encrypted files sits in the locked drawer of my desk. The thumb drive with backup copies stays in my wallet. I pull up the timeline I've been maintaining. A spreadsheet that would make any project manager proud. Dates, times, locations, corroborating evidence. 18 months of betrayal, organized by month and cross-referenced with our credit card statements, her calendar, and the messages I pulled from her laptop. July through September of last year. The beginning. Flirty messages, lunch meetings that ran long, the first hotel visit on a Tuesday afternoon when she told me she had a dentist appointment. October through December. Escalation. Weekend conferences that I've since verified never existed. Late nights at the office that security logs would probably disprove if I subpoenaed them. Christmas Eve, she stepped outside for 20 minutes to take a work call. I can see now in the messages it was Derek, telling her what he wanted to do to her. January through March. The period where she started pulling away from the kids. Missed soccer games. Forgotten school events. Emma's birthday party where Amber showed up an hour late because she was stuck in traffic. The messages show she was at Derek's apartment. April through now. The endgame. Talk of leaving me. House hunting in Lincoln Park. Discussions about custody arrangements that would give her the kids every other weekend. Derek thinks it's better if we don't disrupt their routine too much, Derek thinks. As if he gets a vote in what happens to my children. I add a new entry to the timeline. Tuesday, 11:47 p.m. Note from Amber on kitchen counter, maintaining facade of normal marriage, documented and preserved. My phone buzzes. I flip it over, expecting another text from Amber asking where I am. Instead, it's an email from Jenna, my attorney. Subject line, strategy session, availability. I open it. Tyler, based on what you've shared, I think we need to meet before Thursday. I have some concerns about the timeline you mentioned and want to discuss options for protecting your interests and your children. Can you come in tomorrow, Wednesday morning? I have a 9 a.m. opening. Jenna. I type back a quick confirmation. 9 a.m. works. I'll tell Amber I have an early site visit, which is plausible enough that she won't question it. She's too distracted by her own lies to pay much attention to mine. The irony of that thought isn't lost on me. I've become a liar too, just in self-defense. Every "how was your day" is a lie. Every "I love you" she says that I don't immediately call out is a lie by omission. We're both performing a marriage that ended months ago, except only one of us knows the show is over. I finish the beer and pull up the folder of Derek's information that Christine sent me. His LinkedIn profile shows a carefully curated image of success. VP of Sales at a medical device company, MBA from Northwestern, board member of some nonprofit I've never heard of. The photos show a guy who clearly spends time at the gym and money on his teeth. 42 years old, never remarried after Christine, no kids. No kids. And now he wants mine. There's a photo from some company event. Derek in a suit, arm around a colleague, big smile that doesn't reach his eyes. I study his face, trying to understand what Amber sees in him. confidence maybe. The kind of aggressive certainty that probably translates well in sales. The opposite of my analytical caution. Christine's warning echoes in my head. He needs to win. He needs to be seen winning. Which means Derek's deadline isn't really about Amber telling me the truth. It's about Derek forcing a confrontation where he gets to be the victor, where he gets to take my wife, prove he's the better man, and walk away with the prize. Thursday night. Emma's recital. A school auditorium full of parents and teachers and kids. A perfect stage for Derek's grand gesture if he decides to show up. I open a new document and start gaming out scenarios. Scenario 1. I confront Amber tomorrow before the recital. Tell her I know everything. She either confesses or denies. Either way, Derek loses his deadline leverage. But I lose the element of surprise and any chance of documenting what happens when he doesn't get his way. Scenario 2. I let it play out. Attend the recital as planned. If Derek shows up, I'm there to control the situation and protect Emma from witnessing whatever scene he wants to create. Document everything. But risk a public confrontation that traumatizes my daughter. Scenario 3. I talk to Emma's school tomorrow. Explain there's a potential security concern, a third party who might attempt to disrupt the recital. Have them add extra supervision, maybe keep someone at the doors. Protect Emma without revealing the full situation. Scenario 4. I go straight to Derek. Meet him on my terms before his deadline. Tell him I know everything and that if he comes anywhere near my family, I'll make his life very difficult. But that tips my hand and might escalate things unpredictably. I type out the scenarios, adding pros and cons to each. This is what I do. Analyze variables, calculate risk, design solutions. The fact that I'm applying it to my disintegrating marriage instead of a bridge project doesn't change the fundamental process. My phone buzzes again. This time it is Amber. You coming to bed? I stare at the message for a long moment. The casual intimacy of it. The assumption that we're still a couple who shares a bed, who checks on each other, who cares about these small domestic rhythms. Soon, I type back, finishing up some work. Another lie. Another brick in the wall I'm building between us. I hear her footsteps upstairs, the creak of our bedroom floor, the sound of her getting into bed. The same sounds I've heard for 11 years. Background noise to a life I thought I understood. The clock on my computer reads 12:23 a.m. Wednesday morning now. Less than 31 hours until the recital. Less than 83 hours until Derek's deadline. I save all my files, encrypt them again, and lock everything away. Then I head upstairs to lie next to my wife and pretend to sleep, while she pretends our marriage isn't already over. The ending. The meeting with Jenna on Wednesday morning crystallized everything. She sat across from me in her office, reviewing the documentation I'd brought, and her expression grew increasingly grim. Tyler, this is thorough work. Almost too thorough. She looked up at me. How are you holding up? I'm fine, I lied. I just need to know what happens next. She leaned back in her chair. Here's what I think. Derek's deadline is a manipulation tactic, but it's also an opportunity. If he forces a confrontation at your daughter's recital, that's evidence of poor judgment on both their parts. But, and this is important, you need to be the stable parent in that moment. No matter what happens, you stay calm. You protect Emma. You document everything, but you don't engage. And if he doesn't show up Thursday? If he waits until Saturday? Then you move first. File on Friday. Serve her Friday evening before he can orchestrate whatever he's planning. Take control of the timeline. I nodded slowly. What about custody? With your documentation of her absences, the affair, the time she's spent away from the children, you've got a strong case for majority custody. Illinois courts want stability for kids. You're the parent who's been present. That matters more than the affair itself. We talked for another 40 minutes about strategy, timelines, costs. By the time I left, I had a plan. Or at least the skeleton of one. Thursday arrived with unseasonable warmth, the kind of October day that feels borrowed from September. I took the afternoon off work, telling my boss I needed to be at Emma's recital early. Not a lie, for once. I picked Emma up from school at 3. She was buzzing with nervous energy, clutching her sheet music and talking nonstop about the performance. Is Mom coming? She asked as we drove home. She said she'd try. That means no. Emma's voice went flat. She always says she'll try and then she doesn't come. I glanced at her in the rearview mirror. 9 years old and already learning that words don't always match actions. I'll be there. Lucas will be there. Grandma's driving in too. I know. She looked out the window. It's fine. I'm used to it. Those 4 words, I'm used to it, hit harder than any of Amber's messages. This was the real damage. Not the betrayal of our marriage vows, but the slow erosion of our daughter's trust in her mother. At home, Emma went upstairs to practice while I made an early dinner. Lucas built Legos at the kitchen table. Amber had texted at 2 to say she was slammed, but would absolutely be there by 7. I didn't respond. At 5:30, my mother arrived. She took one look at me and knew something was wrong, but didn't ask. Not in front of the kids. We loaded everyone into my truck. Emma in her recital dress, Lucas in the nice shirt he hated, my mother in the passenger seat. Amber's meeting us there? My mother asked carefully. That's the plan. We arrived at the school at 6:15. The parking lot was already filling up. I found a spot near the entrance and helped Emma carry her things inside. The auditorium hummed with activity, kids warming up, parents finding seats, teachers directing traffic. I scanned the crowd instinctively, looking for Derek. I'd studied enough photos to recognize him on sight. But I didn't see anyone matching his description. We found seats in the 4th row. Emma went backstage with the other performers. Lucas sat between me and my mother, swinging his legs and asking how long this would take. 6:30 came and went. No Amber. 6:45. Still nothing. At 6:50, my phone buzzed. Amber. So sorry, still stuck at the office. Presentation ran long. Tell Emma I love her and I'm so proud. Record it for me? I stared at the message for a long moment. Then I turned off my phone and put it in my pocket. The lights dimmed at 7 exactly. The principal welcomed everyone. The music teacher gave a brief introduction. And then the 4th grade orchestra began to play. Emma was in the 2nd row of violins, her face serious with concentration. She'd been practicing her part for 6 weeks, driving us all slightly crazy with the repetition. Now, watching her play, I felt something crack open in my chest. Pride, grief, love, rage, all of it tangled together until I couldn't separate one emotion from another. The performance lasted 40 minutes. Emma didn't miss a single note. When it ended, I stood and applauded until my hands hurt. Lucas cheered. My mother wiped her eyes. And Amber's seat remained empty. We found Emma backstage afterward, flushed and happy. She looked past me first, scanning for her mother. When she didn't find her, something in her expression dimmed. Mom couldn't make it, I said quietly. Work emergency. But you were perfect, sweetheart. Absolutely perfect. I know she couldn't come. Emma's voice was steady, but her eyes were too bright. It's okay. It wasn't okay. We both knew it. My mother took the kids for ice cream while I stayed behind to help Emma pack up her violin. The auditorium was emptying out, parents and students filtering toward the parking lot. I was collecting Emma's music stand when I saw him. Derek Paulson stood near the back entrance, partially hidden by a support column. He was watching the crowd, clearly looking for someone. For Amber. Our eyes met across the auditorium. He straightened slightly, recognition flickering across his face. He didn't know who I was, not specifically, but he knew I'd spotted him. Knew he didn't belong here. I walked toward him slowly, deliberately. He held his ground, chin lifted in challenge or defiance. Can I help you? I kept my voice level, professional. Are you a parent here? I'm waiting for someone. His voice was smooth, confident. Sales pitch voice. This is a school event, for students and their families. I stopped about 6 feet away, close enough to be clear, far enough to avoid confrontation. If you're not a parent or guardian, you need to leave. I'm a guest of one of the parents. Which parent? He smiled slightly. I don't think that's your business. Actually, it is. I'm on the school safety committee. A lie, but a useful one. And I don't recognize you. So I'm going to need you to either identify who you're here with or leave the building. We stared at each other. I could see him calculating, deciding whether to push this or retreat. Behind me, I heard a teacher asking if everything was okay. Derek's smile widened. No problem, I'll wait outside. He turned and walked out the back entrance. I watched until he disappeared, then turned to find the teacher, Mrs. Patterson, who'd taught Emma last year. Everything all right, Mr. Brennan? Fine. Just someone who got confused about which school his kid attends. I managed to smile. Thanks for checking. She nodded and moved on. I stood there for another moment, adrenaline coursing through my system. Derek had come. He'd actually shown up at my daughter's school event, ready to force the confrontation he'd promised. But Amber hadn't been here. So he'd waited, watching, and then I'd spotted him. And now he knew that I knew. Or at least suspected. I pulled out my phone and turned it back on. 3 missed calls from Amber, 2 voicemails, a string of texts. I'm so sorry. The presentation went completely off the rails. I feel terrible. How did Emma do? Are you mad at me? I didn't respond. Instead, I opened my camera and took a photo of the back entrance where Derek had been standing. Documentation, evidence. Building my case one piece at a time. Friday morning, I filed for divorce. Jenna had the papers ready. I signed them in her office at 8:30, my hand steady despite the weight of what I was doing. 11 years of marriage, reduced to legal documents and asset schedules. The process server will deliver them to her office at 4 o'clock today, Jenna explained. That gives you time to pick up the kids from school and be home when she gets the news. I strongly recommend you're not alone when she arrives home. I called my mother from the parking lot, explained in broad strokes what was happening, what I needed. She didn't ask questions, just said she'd be at my house by 3:30. The day passed in a blur. I went through the motions at work, attended meetings, reviewed plans. My boss commented that I seemed distracted. I blamed it on the foundation issues at the Riverside project. Always a reliable excuse. At 2:30, I left early. Picked up Lucas from after-school care, then Emma from her friend's house. My mother was already at the house when we arrived, having let herself in with the spare key I'd given her years ago. Kids, Grandma's going to stay for dinner, I announced. We're ordering Chinese. They cheered and ran upstairs to change. My mother looked at me with worried eyes. You're sure about this? She asked quietly. I'm sure. What are you going to tell them? The truth. Age-appropriate version, but the truth. I met her gaze. They deserve to know why their lives are about to change. At 4:15, my phone rang. Amber's name on the screen. I let it go to voicemail. She called again at 4:17. 4:20? 4:23. At 4:30, she texted, We need to talk. Now. I responded, I'll be home at the usual time. We can talk then. Her reply was immediate. Tyler, what the hell is this? Divorce papers? Are you serious? Completely serious. See you at 6. I turned off my phone after that. Amber's car screeched into the driveway at 5:40. I heard the garage door slam, her footsteps loud and fast through the kitchen. My mother had the kids in the backyard giving us space. She burst into the living room where I was sitting, still in my work clothes, the divorce papers I'd kept a copy of spread on the coffee table in front of me. What the hell, Tyler? Her face was flushed, eyes bright with anger, or tears, or both. You had me served at work? In front of my colleagues? Would you have preferred I do it here? In front of the kids? I would have preferred you talk to me first, like an adult, like someone who's been married for 11 years. I stood slowly, keeping the coffee table between us. Like you talked to me before you started sleeping with Derek Paulson 18 months ago? The color drained from her face. What are you? Don't. I held up a hand. Don't insult me by pretending you don't know what I'm talking about. I have every message, Amber. Every photo. Every hotel receipt. I know about the cabin in Wisconsin. The weekend at the Langham that was supposed to be our anniversary trip. The lunch dates, the late-night calls, all of it. She sank onto the couch, the fight going out of her. How long have you known? Does it matter? Yes, it matters. How long have you been? She gestured helplessly. Playing detective? Spying on me? About a week, since I found your laptop unlocked with all your messages open. I sat back down, maintaining the distance. You weren't very careful, Amber. Or maybe part of you wanted me to find out. I don't know anymore. I was going to tell you. Her voice was small now, defensive. I just needed time to figure out how. Derek gave you until tomorrow, Saturday. That was his deadline, right? Tell me, or he would. Her eyes widened. How do you know about that? Because I've been 3 steps ahead of you for days. I know he came to Emma's recital last night. I know you've been house hunting in Lincoln Park. I know you told him I'm boring and predictable and you can't wait to leave. Tyler, I know you missed our daughter's performance because you were with him. I know you've been lying to me for 18 months while I picked up all the slack at home, took care of our kids, and believed we were partners. She was crying now, but I felt nothing. No sympathy, no urge to comfort, just a cold, analytical distance. I'm sorry, she whispered. I'm so sorry. I never meant for it to go this far. But it did. And now we're here. I gestured to the divorce papers. I'm filing for majority custody of Emma and Lucas. I have documentation of every school event you missed, every soccer game, every night you chose him over them. I have evidence that you've been prioritizing your affair over your children's well-being. That's not fair. I love my kids. Then you should have thought about that before you started a relationship with a man who sees them as obstacles to overcome. I stood again, needing to move. I talked to Derek's ex-wife, by the way, Christine. She had some interesting things to say about his character, about how he manipulates and controls, about how he treats people who don't give him what he wants. Amber's face went pale. You talked to Christine? I did my research, which is more than you did, apparently. I walked to the window, looked out at the backyard where my mother was pushing Lucas on the swing. Derek's a narcissist, Amber. He doesn't love you. He loves winning. And right now, you're the prize he wants to take from me. That's not true. You don't know him. I know enough. I know he pressured his last affair partner until she left her husband. I know he threatened Christine when she filed for divorce. I know he shows up at elementary school recitals to force confrontations. I turned back to face her. And I know that if you choose him, you're going to regret it. But that's your decision to make. She wiped her eyes, trying to compose herself. What if I end it? With Derek? What if I choose us? There is no us anymore, Amber. That ended when you decided 18 months of lies was acceptable, when you told him I was boring, when you missed Emma's recital to be with him. I kept my voice level, factual. You made your choice. Every day for 18 months, you chose him. This is just me finally accepting that. So that's it? 11 years of marriage and you're just done? I'm not the one who ended our marriage. You did that. I'm just making it official. We stood in silence for a moment. Outside, I could hear Lucas laughing. Emma calling for Grandma to watch her do a cartwheel. Normal childhood sounds, oblivious to the destruction happening inside. What do we tell the kids? Amber asked finally. The truth. That we're getting divorced. That it's not their fault. That we both love them and will figure out a custody arrangement that works. I paused. And that you made choices that hurt our family, and now we all have to live with the consequences. Tyler, please. I'm going to go help my mother with dinner. You should probably find somewhere else to stay tonight. My lawyer will be in touch about the custody schedule and asset division. I walked past her toward the back door. She called my name, but I didn't stop. I'd said everything I needed to say. The next 3 months were exactly as difficult as Jenna had warned they'd be. Amber hired her own attorney, an aggressive woman who tried to paint me as controlling and vindictive. But the evidence spoke for itself. The messages, the missed events, the 18 months of lies. Derek disappeared from Amber's life about 6 weeks into the divorce proceedings. According to Emma, who'd overheard Amber crying on the phone, he decided the drama was too much and ended things. Amber was devastated. I felt nothing. The custody arrangement settled at 60-40 in my favor. Emma and Lucas would be with me during the week, with Amber every other weekend and alternating holidays. It wasn't perfect, but it was fair. The house went up for sale in January. We split the proceeds evenly, along with the retirement accounts and other assets. Amber moved to a 2-bedroom apartment in Wheaton. I bought a smaller house in Naperville, close to the kids' schools. Emma took it hard at first. She was angry at both of us, at Amber for the affair, at me for ending the marriage. Therapy helped. So did time and consistency and the slow rebuilding of trust. Lucas was younger, more resilient. He adapted to the new routine quickly, though he still asked sometimes why mommy and daddy didn't live together anymore. Because sometimes grown-ups make mistakes, I'd tell him, and sometimes those mistakes mean things have to change. Did you make a mistake too, Daddy? Yeah, buddy. I trusted someone who wasn't trustworthy. That was my mistake. 2 years later, I stood in the kitchen of my new house, making breakfast for Emma and Lucas on a Saturday morning. Pancakes, Lucas's favorite. Emma was setting the table, chattering about her friend's birthday party that afternoon. My phone buzzed with a text from Jenna. We'd stayed in touch, the way you do with people who help you through the worst moments of your life. Saw the final decree was signed. How are you doing? I looked around my kitchen. Smaller than the old house, but mine. Paid for with my money. Decorated to my taste. No ghosts, no lies, no wondering what was real. I'm good, I typed back. Actually good. And I meant it. The affair had destroyed my marriage, but it hadn't destroyed me. If anything, it had clarified things. Shown me what I was capable of when pushed. Taught me that I could survive betrayal, navigate complexity, protect what mattered. Emma and Lucas were thriving. Their grades were good. They had friends, activities, stability. Amber saw them regularly, and while our co-parenting relationship was cordial at best, it worked. I'd started dating again. Nothing serious yet, but I was open to the possibility. I'd learned what I wouldn't tolerate, what I needed, what I deserved. Dad, pancakes are burning, Emma called out. I turned back to the stove, flipping the pancakes just in time. Lucas appeared at my elbow, peering up at the griddle. Can mine have chocolate chips? Sure, buddy. I added chocolate chips to his pancake, plain ones for Emma and one for myself. We sat at the table together, the morning sun streaming through the windows, and ate breakfast as a family. Not the family I'd planned for, not the one I'd thought I was building for 11 years, but a real one, built on truth instead of lies, on presence instead of absence, on choices made consciously instead of betrayals hidden in shadows. The lesson, if there is one, is this. You can't control what other people do. You can't force someone to be honest, or faithful, or present. You can't make them choose you, no matter how much you love them or how hard you try. But you can control how you respond. You can choose to face the truth instead of hiding from it. You can choose to protect what matters, your children, your dignity, your future. You can choose to be the kind of person who survives betrayal without becoming bitter, who builds something new from the ruins of what was lost. I didn't choose what happened to my marriage, but I chose what happened next, and that made all the difference.